can we maybe dig in and out of the recipe and kind of see this happen?
Heavens, yes. So what I'm going to switch to here is this is actually the dashboard for our cloud interface. This is where you go to make policy changes, add new applications, add new identity fabrics. So let me walk you through exactly what I did. So the first thing, if you recall, step one, create the fabric elements, because those are the deeper integrations that we need for all kinds of different things. Here we've got a number of them built, but we're going to show you about how easy it is to integrate with Okta. In this case, we can choose which protocol we're going to talk to Okta with. It could be OIDC, SAML, whatever your preference is. And this is all of the metadata exchange that you would expect from any of those modern protocols. You just put it here, you take the information from us and provide it to Okta, and then you create that integration quite easily. The same thing is true for LDAP. Since we're getting additional information from LDAP or other sources, here we actually say, where do we find that? How do I tell the LDAP that I'm authorized to get the information that's important to extract all of that? And then how do I make sure that it's searchable? So
this is, I apologize. I was just going to say, and this is another example of where certainly OAG is appropriate for certain applications, but as you get into more complex policy and authorization needs, if you need that fine-grained authorization to persist with that legacy application, that's where we're coming in to be able to set these attributes very specifically.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so at this point, if you think about the analogy, I know we're using a lot of analogies today. These are the building blocks. These are the key components of the recipe, the key ingredients, if you will. So the next part, step two, creating the information about the applications themselves. Now, if I happen to know it, great. If I want to invite the application owners to come in and they'll own that part of the process, we're designed for that as well, to make it easy for the right people to make the right decisions for themselves. So the application that I'm going to be demonstrating here is something we call Sonar HR. It's sitting on this high-level port, wherever that happens to exist. And then we have different information about what happens if somebody's unauthorized, errors, those kinds of things. But the other thing, the resources, these are the important pages that exist within that application so that we can have different policies that says you may be able to get to the application, but you have to be in a certain department to get to this page. You may have to be in a different job title to go to a different page, or however you want that fine-grained authorization logic to do. And this tends to be a little finer grained than we see in a lot of the proxies that are out there in the world today. So let's show how that all goes together. So we have the fabric elements defined.
Yes.
We have an application defined.
Yes.
Now, the last step is create the user journey or the user flow. So the application that I'm picking on is called Maverick 7. So here, this is where we determine how we stitch together all these pieces and parts. So I go in and I say, this is the application that I care about for this user flow. I could add multiple applications if they all behave similarly. I want to authenticate my users using Okta, because that's what we're here to talk about. I do want to get some additional information about the users from a local LDAP that sits either in the cloud or near the application. And then the access control I have per page gets defined based on information that I can get anywhere. So if some of the information comes from Okta, fantastic. We already get that based on the claims it tells us about you. But if we want to go get your department from the LDAP in order to do authorization decisions, then we can go do that. The important thing to understand is the way the orchestrator does this, it's at the sub-second that it's needed. Everything we do is at runtime. We don't have a directory. We don't have a database. We're just a really, really fast, easy to deploy, hyper-performant capability.
Great. And so there's not any data stored or anything along the way in this either?
None at all. We would be doing you a disservice if we had yet another copy of all your data floating around.
Sure. We're simply using the ingredients where they already live and making them available as needed.
You get it. Okay. And so then the last part of the user flow journey is that the application, this particular application, expects to consume headers. That's how the application behaves. It used to be protected by SiteMinder. So it's expecting a header called SMUser. It's well understood for people who work with SiteMinder. So we're going to give it that same exact header, and we're going to source the information from one of the attributes we get from Okta. We're going to do the same thing for surname, first name, department, those kinds of things. You'll notice that the department isn't coming from Okta, it's coming from the LDAP. And so once we do all of that, we've got all the pieces and parts in the user flow that's out there. And then the last step that we need in order to deploy that to our orchestrator is publish it. You can publish this to any shared storage that you guys want, all of the common cloud providers, or you can download it to a laptop and push it to the orchestrator, whatever you need. The important thing to understand architecturally is that the fabric consists of two things, as easy as you could think of it. It's a executable, our product, Mavericks, and a configuration file that gets generated when you publish it. If it has those two things, you've got a fully working dynamic orchestrator. Now let's see it in action.
Awesome. Well, and just for what it's worth, I had a little timer going here as well. And so you talked about being able to do this in under 10 minutes, and you said it in about 5.5. So I think we're doing okay on that delivery of something in 10 minutes. So this view, we're actually seeing from the user's experience what this is like. So this is going to be the login now that you've published, what that experience is actually like to that legacy app.
That's exactly correct. So all of the things that I built in our user interface got deployed to our orchestrator, and now they're enacting. It's sitting in front of an application that's expecting to consume headers, but appropriately, we want Okta to do what Okta does really, really well.